What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and it is lovely to be back here today. We are trying to squeeze a couple episodes in before the end of the year here. Mainly, it feels like I'm going to take the month of January off. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I've been trying to reach out to as many friends as I can, just catching up with people at the end of the year, following up with people from conferences, things of that nature. For all things C-Lab in 2024, check out joinclab.com or go to Eventbrite Cannabis Lab. We're going to be starting our week or our monthly in-market events in Tampa, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami again. Those are going to start, I believe, on the 18th. It's the third Thursday of every month, so it should be January 18th if I'm remembering correctly. Other than that, let's get into today's episode. Today's guest is an alumni of the show. He is back. He is on his own. I'm very excited to talk to him. He worked for two companies that I very much respect and is now doing his own thing. Please welcome Jeff Finnerty, the Chief Commercial Officer of Dovetail Smart Blocks. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Oh, Todd, thanks for having me back. It's been a while, but we've had some great conversations and excited to spend some time today.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've noticed, I was doing my diligence on you again, and you've really only spoken to me and Kevin Carrillo. So I think for some reason we turned you completely off of doing podcasts.
Yeah, I got the last couple of companies, it was kind of the direction of the PR department. So I did a lot of kind of print and those kind of print interviews, but yeah, no, my pod time is reserved for a select few.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Jeff, you have started your own company now, Dovetail Smart Blocks, and I've got to say, I think someone like you has such a unique insight into the industry, being in major marketing roles with both Grow Healthy and AYR. I think Florida has this unique insight into their customer base that you don't get anywhere else because of the forced vertical integration. So you have the ability to create brands, track how those brands are doing. You can see your retail numbers. You kind of have all of your business under one roof. As much as it is to a pain in the ass to manage that and create all those business units, I feel like someone of your position, being with two major MSOs in the state, has a very unique insight into just cannabis marketing in general, because you can see the whole supply chain under your roof.
Yeah, no, I think that I got into cannabis in 2019 with Grow Healthy and focused purely on the Florida medical market, and that was really a great way to learn the cannabis consumer and to your point, really have complete control end to end of the business, from literally the seed all the way through having a transaction with a consumer, and then building a relationship, an ongoing relationship with those consumers. And from there, it was really interesting as I went to AIR to lead an organization that was really built through M&A and acquiring operating companies around the country, operating in 8 states and over 80 dispensaries, drastically different marketplaces, drastically different models of product, all the way through marketing and then delivery, the last mile logistics to the consumer. And it's literally like running 8, 9, 10, depending on how many states you're in, different entire businesses.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, in Florida, to me, it's always been the hardest because you have to do everything. You have to do it all under one roof, and you have to do it essentially with the same leadership. I want to get into more of what you're doing now. Tell us more about what Dovetail is doing. From what I can gather, you're trying to revolutionize e-commerce, or at least drastically improve it in the cannabis space, because as we know, pretty much everything, everyone's website is from the e-commerce side specifically, is very templatized.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so this is really an evolution of the work and understanding of the marketplace and consumers that I've had over the last 5 years. And it's at Grow Healthy, one of the things that we identified right away is that we way under indexed in the online order and pickup model when I first got there, and it was less than 14% of our sales. And and any product, right, sooner or later, it's people are going to be excited that it's available, right? And so I think in 2019, in Florida, May of that year was when flour first became available. So basically, to compete, if you had flour, people would, jump over a fence and run across a field just to get to you. But sooner or later, as people got their products in line and improved their service touch points, you really had to compete on things like convenience, which are always convenience and price. I mean, no matter, there's all the other things you want to do to differentiate your brand. But when you ask consumers, and I've probably done this survey, 1,000 times, you can never get convenience and price out of the top two, right? They're just, that's what people are going to say first.
I'm
And
curious to dig into this a little bit more because I've always been confused. When you tell me now that online order and pickup was about 14% of the sales at Grow Healthy, that makes total sense to me because I am obviously a Florida consumer. I've been a consumer of Grow Healthy. I order from delivery from the Flowery, Jungle Boys. I typically will go to the online menu and I do not place my order there. I just go to see what they have to make sure it's worth my time going to the store. I'll go to the store and then place my order there. And I gotta say, I feel like because historically there's been no advantage to ordering ahead except for maybe my order might happen to be in the bag by the time I get there. It's only slightly faster. But to me in my head, I always feel like delivery is the future, pickup's the future, because that's what it is with everything else that we do. I mean, I have 3-4 Amazon drop-offs in my house a day just for different crap that we order for the house. So I'm very curious, like someone like myself who knows what they want, I don't need to have the interaction with the bud tender. Like, why are more people not doing that?
Well, they are. I guess I didn't connect the dots, right? So that's what happened at Grow Healthy, right? 14%. It was way under index where we should be, based on cannabis industry, which was lagging, but just across kind of all consumer goods products and retailers. But we had a terrible website. It was a terrible experience. And what we did then, because there really weren't a lot of options, was we embarked on a ground up, top of the line Martech stack custom enterprise class website. And it luckily we were ready to beta test it about 5 days before everyone's doors shut when COVID hit in early 2020. And so we pushed it out, and we very quickly went to almost all phone in or online order and pickup. But what we had built, it was great because it kind of forced people to try this new enterprise e-commerce system, which the idea there was not only make it convenient, but make it, an immersive experience. So if you know what you want, you go order and boom, it's a quick path to purchase. And of course, the other piece that you just talked about, when you say it's only marginally quicker, that means you haven't done the rest of it, right? It's the whole thing's got to be reimagined, which is you've got to create an environment to make it easy to click online and get what you want, find what you want, learn about what you want, and then also get it. Then the end of that is the fulfillment process, right? And so kind of half your stores then got to be dedicated to customers coming in to shop, and the other half's just got to be a fulfillment center that gets you in and out as quickly as possible. But by doing that, what we found is we went from 14% of sales, after the doors were open, you look back in the late summer, to 76% of that business at Grow Healthy was pre-order and pickup. And not only had it gone from 14% of revenue was derived online to 76, but we had tripled total revenue because it was a combination of understanding a much, much better experience online, and then working with great retail operating partners who understood how to activate upon that and make the experience for consumers coming to pick up very different than what it was for consumers coming in to shop. So we had a great experience with that, but it took us almost a year to put version 1 of that out. And you're right. And we looked at delivery, and from there we enabled that e-commerce site to handle on-demand delivery, where you could shop in a van in Orlando in one of 4 quadrants and see live inventory, and we would just route the van to you. We tell you, the time before you checked out. We called it flower in about an hour.
Was that real?
That was real. Yeah.
Well, why do I'm in like the worst place for cannabis ever in Delray.
No, well, we had to pick a test market. I wish we had thought of you, Todd, when we were first drawing it up, but we took Orlando because we only had 1 physical store there. So we were really outflanked by our competitors in Florida and Orlando. So we're like, well, if we can't get brick and mortar stores up right away, what if we overtook the delivery market, not call in, oh, we're in your area on Tuesdays, so we'll see you in 3 days, right? Which is kind of what our delivery model was at the time. To, okay, I look online, here's $12,000 of inventory that's sitting in a van. It's in these set of zip codes. Once you type in your zip code, it takes you to that van. And if you're third on the list, it tells you we'll be there between, an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. It texts you when we get close and you know that we're there. And all that was enabled through the e-commerce piece, which was a really fun project. We just gotten that kind of up and running and really got some juice behind it when I had moved on to, over to air.
I didn't,
but
I didn't even know that existed. And you delivery. And so that's the one thing that kind of going in. I'm sorry to take us on this tangent here. I wish I knew that existed because I feel undereducated about the market now. But that's something that my friends and I talk about all the time. Like, we can't believe that nobody has done it, an hour delivery, same day delivery, at least within some kind of geographical radius of the store. It, like, you don't see it. And like, I love the Flowery. I'm willing to get their delivery because I'm not driving down to North Miami Beach. But I've said this 100 times on the show, there's the giant 8 to 8 delivery window is the biggest pain in the ass experience I've ever had. Like, I have a 710 Labs order coming today. I don't think it will be to me sometime between 5:30 and 8. And candidly, that's when I'm helping put my kids to bed and is the absolute worst time to get a delivery. But I know that's when it's going to come. And that's my biggest problem with delivery in this state right now is you have to assume what day you're not going to be doing anything because you don't know when it's going to come. Like, Gold Leaf has done a good job. They give you a 2 hour window, but I have to place it in order for Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the weekend. And it's like, well, what day am I hopefully not doing something between these 2 hours on that weekend? And I don't know for the next 3 days. Hopefully something doesn't pop up. So dude, you've been on the cutting edge of trying to figure this out for some time now, huh?
Yeah, and it's because it was obvious, 5 years ago that this ultimately consumers are going to want it in the easiest possible way, right? There's nothing. Once you've found what you like and somebody can create it and give you a quality, safe product in an environment you like, then you just want to get access to that product when you want it and how you want it. And if you're not planning for the future, you're going to get left out as an operator. And I think if I can just, dabble into what we're trying to do now, when I look at cannabis operators, right, one of the things that the reason why Trailblaze, never really expanded was because of not just the money investment to get the vans in a much larger area, but it took, resources and time that a lot of operators don't have, right? That you start getting real narrow, and the ups and downs of this industry make you operate pretty lean, right?
Yeah.
And I think a byproduct of that is, I think of the Dutchie and Dispense and Jane, who provide good e-commerce menu options, right? That gets you up and running and lets you execute an order, right? They do a great job at that. But if you're an operator and you need to get up and running and you do it, and you don't have $1 million to invest in an enterprise class website and wait 12 months to have it fully developed, that's a great way to get into it. But if you stop there and you look around, now all of your competitors are in some type of iframe, and there are tons of limitations to that. Tons. Your menu is locked in a box. The crawlers from Google and others can't get in and see what you're doing on those pages. So it has, no SEO value to you whatsoever. Your store looks like everyone else's store. And there's data. Those are your most visited pages. And since they're not indexed, you Google Analytics, all those kind of things, they can't tell you anything about how people are behaving on those. So you're literally driving your car with somebody having dumped a bucket of paint on your windshield because you don't have all the analytics that tell you the important stories.
That seems to be a general theme across the cannabis industry, unfortunately. So any product to me that adds more data to the hands of cannabis operators, like we are all flying blind. You know,
Mhm.
you worked with two MSOs. You understand that a lot of these asset light brands too that do licensing deals with operators, they really don't have much insight and rely 100% on the operator to share what sales are and everything else.
Sure.
So, you know, it is very interesting to see, you know, just to see products out there with the goal of just giving basic data back to cannabis companies and how revolutionary those are for our industry.
Yeah, I think that any organization that's not built on being consumer centric and data driven is in real trouble over the long term. You have to be, everything you do has got to be built around the consumer. And if you don't have the data that tells you about the consumer and how you're doing with them and what changes that you make and what the impact is to their behaviors, you're going to be in trouble. And I can tell you there are people doing good things with data. And some of them have are had to leave the industry because when you get into that budget crunch, when I said you ride the wave of investment and belt tightening, like you're sitting, I've done this myself. And you look at the spreadsheet, you're like, well, where the heck is the next thing come from? Well,
Yeah.
it's not. I'm always going to be biased towards not people, right? And so then you go, boy, I crave data, but what if I got rid of this subscription and that subscription? I'll just focus on in one, this one piece. That's one thing that can go. So having the access to your own data from your e-commerce site when it's going to make up at least 40 or 50% of your transactions is critical. And that's what we looked at is we spent 2 years really developing the software piece of it. In the last 10 months, really working with customers and understanding how to really commercialize it. Because the choice today is an iframe that is extremely limited and forces you in a box and you look like everyone else. You have no access to your data. You have no ability to drive SEO. You can hire, I've had a lot of conversations with SEO consultants, and they're like, yeah, it's great. I mean, I can do backlinking and do all this kind of stuff, but if my customer is on an iframe, I'm doing it with one hand tied behind my back, right? So for them, taking a solution like this to their customers is, like pouring gasoline on the fire. So that's your one option. And your other option, like I said, is hey, I'm going to carve out hundreds of thousands of dollars and months to get to market. And so what we've got is a subscription-based service. We could convert your Dutchy site to a Dutchy Plus site, or your Jane to a Jane Root site in days, right? And then it's just a WordPress site. And we've created 81 smart blocks that unlock every single API in both of those systems. So any information that's in Dutchy is now readily available in a drag and drop, literally kind of a Fisher Price build your menu, and it can look any way you want. I mean, it can be a template, that works, or from scratch, your menu page, not your website page, but the actual menu where the way you display your products and the information you want people to know about is completely customizable.
See, now this is absolutely needed because we in cannabis, there are a ton of creative people in this industry. There are so many brands that are trying to distinguish themselves, and you build websites, you build out your entire site, and obviously the menu is only part of it, but you want your website to look homogenous throughout the entire thing, and then obviously adding in wording for SEO and things of that nature. I completely understand where you're coming from. Now, in Florida, where you had operated and where I live, I think that's needed for distinction because brand it to me, I think we're at a point in time where it is kind of shifting from medical to mech
Quasi,
red,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like there are a lot of rec customers who have their medical card, and that cannabis culture and influence is starting to come in. The plain medicinal look and sterile feel is going away. But if you look at other markets like Michigan, Massachusetts, California, to go from menu to menu to menu, and it all looks the same. It just has some different products on it. And especially in markets where vertical integration isn't a thing. So a lot of the same products are on that same menu. How do you differentiate? How do you display that information better? And you are actually now at a point in time where you are bringing e-commerce into as an actual advantageous strategy where it's not just homogenized look. Someone can win you over with the format of their menu. They can make better recommendations. It's not just, um, you know, hey, here are the 5 things you can do. Pick which one you want to display. It's very interesting to
Yep.
see now.
Now you hit on something from a product level too. Let's say you do a really great job at your merchant folks in a state where you can buy in brands of getting a unique assortment of products and brands, and you're in an iframe. There is no product level SEO, right? Because a crawler can't get into the menu and see that you sell Todd's Cannabis. They just know that you have a menu there. One of the things Dovetail does that's not in Dutchy or the other places in the API is it enables product reviews. So you can go to Jungle Boys and review, each of their strains, and then those published reviews can be exported automatically. You just set it up when you set up the website over to your Google My Business page. Now, when somebody's looking for a specific product, it'll find it at your dispensary versus heading into a brick wall or just going back to the manufacturer's website or the brand's website. So it's the searchability and the publication, getting credit for the great work that a lot of inventory folks do on creating a nice assortment in the inventory on your store. And it really comes down to then you think about what is it when I walk into a store. Your experience, if you have a really good retailer, it's curated through physical merchandising, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see the things I want you to see in the order I want you to see them, or segmented the way I want you to see based on your behaviors and the types of customers I have in the store. Well, digital merchandising is a critical, I mean, for anybody who operates in the e-commerce space. But there's no digital merchandise. You can't decide how you display the order and the manner in which you show your products. For instance, we're working with Jungle Boys, right? If you use the iframe, and then even in some solutions that kind of get you a little bit out of it, your products are categorized by what they call them. So there's flower, and then there's, as a subcategory, there's little flower. I think they call it small format flower. You can't even change the way that shows up in your website. We have a simple, you literally take that field and you type in for Jungle Boys pops, because they call their smalls pops. We call them littles when we were Grow Healthy, but that becomes a category page now, a branded category page that when people search it, you'll find pops and it'll take you right back to Jungle Boys. Instead of just saying flower, it says premium flower, because instead of vaporizers, they call them vape pens. We have the ability to reorganize the information architecture at the category level as well.
Yeah, because it is all homogenous, and that is constantly one of my biggest thorns in my side is for the companies that have brought in licensed brands and genetics from other states is going through their menu, and the different strains from the brands are not next to each other, and I have to go through the menu and kind of pick and pull and see, like, and I don't hate to shit on the flowery because I do love them and I buy most of my stuff from them. So guys, at least you're getting my money but like they have like 3 710 strains, and then it'll be a bunch of other ones, and then there'll be a bunch of random 710s like sputtered throughout the menu. And I see that the same with True Leaf and others. Like I feel like menus and they're a pain in the ass. And maybe that's, to your point, why for the longest time I've been going and just looking, okay, what's on the menu? Do they have most of the stuff I like? Now I'm going to go into the store and actually go place my order. I feel like now, hopefully, with the better ecom experience and going on Grow Healthy site, it's funny, some reason, and I don't know, I must have through the new universe known that you had some working relationship with them again. I don't know, maybe like a month and a half ago, I'm like, I haven't been to Grow Healthy in a while. They were always pretty consistent. Let me go see what they had. They had a better website. They had better pictures of the product. They had better descriptions on there. And I went into the store and I started talking to them and said, they're like, yeah, we've got new cultivations, bringing new strains. So it's really cool to see that company who I thought was an early leader in Florida cannabis starting to come back around. And little did I know that they had a relationship with a former person there that was there during those glory days.
Yeah, and I'll tell you from an ecom perspective. First, they're great folks, and the gentleman who leads up all of information technology for Ianthus across the country, Todd Easley, he was there when I was there. We started the first journey to build the very first website. Is still leading that charge there. But you hit on it. It's, and even I'll tell you right now, Grow Healthy is our beta partner. You had a lot of our foundational functionality, and we there's a lot you'll see with Jungle Boys
Oh,
leap
I'm
forwards
excited for that.
and more bells and whistles than they're taking advantage of today. But fundamental things like just the way that you can zoom in on the flower and you can spin it, and you've got some 3D rendering of like the fruit notes and taste notes, that are in the picture there. I mean, the photography, that's the other thing comes, you just pull these photos that are just out of nowhere, these libraries, and they don't all fit together. It's not a homogeneous experience. Those things have real impacts on the time people spend shopping on a site and their conversion rates. It's I've got one of my partners, is really passionate about product photography and how we present the picture, because we'll have all of this great data and the layout of the page, and they'll say, well, and we'll have a placeholder picture, and he calls it the turd in the punch bowl, right? You've
It
got
will. It's crazy because if you go on the company's Instagram, you see all these beautifully done macro images of the weed, and then you go on their website and it's like, is that even a real nug? Like, what is
right.
that?
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's not new, right? I mean, you look at the menu board at McDonald's at the drive-thru, you're like, man, that Big Mac looks awesome. and then you open up the cart, it doesn't look anything like it. So they've
No.
done it in reverse, right? I think a lot of companies have really piss poor product photography on their e-commerce site, but then they're actually capable of growing really good weed
Yeah.
that looks terrific, and it's well trimmed and everything else, and they don't convey that the right way on the site. So that's you got to find ways to make that easy for them to plug and play that stuff and kind of set it and forget it.
That's Jeff. You have such a deep history in marketing and consumer led focus. I know, you started out as a Coke dealer. I've made that joke before with Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
doing a lot of major brands and then going to two major cannabis brands in the state of Florida with
Mhm.
national presence as well too. How much of that are you taking into building this experience now for the cannabis industry in general? I know, I recall from our last conversation, you got into this for family reasons, and it's a reason that
Mhm.
you want to push the industry forward. How much of all your experience altogether is going into Dovetail to help these brands tell their stories and create these customer journeys like you were creating all those years ago at Coca-Cola?
Yeah, no, it's a huge part of it. I mean, that's I tell people all the time that I'll talk to younger folks or friends and their kids about decisions around school and going to get an MBA, leave work and go get a second level degree. And if you make the most of the places that you seek out to work at, and the people that are there and the resources, you'll get a world-class education just day in and day out. I tell people all the time, from a marketing perspective, I went to Coca-Cola University, and I did that for the better part of 2 decades. And it wasn't just learning, oh, there's one right way to do it, and they always get it right, because they don't. I mean, I was part of some spectacular failures, which became great learnings as well. Like I can remember in in early 2000s, it was probably 2001, 2002. Coke decided, we've got to have something for people who are calorie conscious, right? But they want stuff that tastes good, right? So they don't want to drink Diet Coke. So I don't know if you remember this, they came out with a product called Coca-Cola C2.
I don't
And
know if I remember that.
they didn't test it in a couple of months. Like, it was like, let's put a $50 million Rolling Stones, ad campaign, paint all the trucks, and roll it out everywhere. And what it was literally half Coke, half Diet Coke, right? So it was like an 80-calorie Coke that still that had an aftertaste, right? And so, I mean, it flamed out like in 9 months. It was gone, right? I mean, we'd retooled every bottling plant in the country, and it was gone. And then you kind of go back and you're like, well, geez, why didn't that work? People want less calories. And it was like, well, yeah, but people don't want 80 calories. They want none, right? And they don't want it to taste. They don't want to drink their mom's Diet Coke. And
Yeah.
you got to. So what is it they really want? And what that ended up informing was the creation of Coca-Cola Zero, which became $1 billion brand in 7 months, right? So sometimes your spectacular failures, help you kind of think about what you need. to do on the next step. I mean, and the biggest example, which happened a good 15 years before I got to Coke, but the lessons are ingrained in the hallways there. Was the switch from Coke to New Coke. I don't know
Oh,
if you're familiar with that.
yeah, I remember that one. I've heard that one. That
Well,
was on they did that one on Business Wars, actually.
I'm sure there are plenty of documentaries about it, right? I mean, it was what was going on, just real short, right? Pepsi did the Pepsi challenge, right? And so they had their commercials around going to the beach and having people try two things side by side, and Pepsi was winning, right? And the reason why is Pepsi is slightly less carbonated and slightly sweeter. So that first taste, right, when it hits your taste buds and it tastes sweet, and your endorphins kind of kick in. You're like, I like that. Coke is a little less sweet and sharper because of the more carbonation. And so, but they're getting their butt kicked. And instead of kind of fighting back in a different, they changed their formula to taste like Pepsi, which is an insane thing to do,
Yeah.
especially when you've been around for at that point about 90 years.
There,
And
not to cut you off real quick, but there's
yeah,
actually a hilarious comedian by the name of Gary Goldman, and he has a phenomenal bit. He goes, "You ever go to a restaurant that doesn't have?" He talks about how great Coke is. And he goes, "You ever go into a restaurant that doesn't have Coke products, and they kind of let you know very apologetically, like, sorry,
Pepsi
will
okay?
Pepsi do? I'm sorry, it's all we have. We don't mean to upset you. It's kind of funny to hear Coke, but it's funny to hear a behemoth like Coke, making this move to compete because Pepsi just had a really good marketing
Yeah,
campaign.
but I'll tell you that so they what they got is they got these flood of letters and all these angry people, and they weren't like they were bring back the old Coke, but it was less about I like the way it tasted versus the outrage over people's emotive connection to the brand. And what I mean by that is you get a letter from somebody, it'd be like, I cannot believe you changed that. The last memory I had of my grandfather was sitting on a dock and sharing a glass bottle of Coke with him. And now you've ruined that because I can't, every time I have a Coke, I think about that. And you changed it, right? And if you think about all of the marketing campaigns they did after that, it was not transactional. It was very much it's about enjoy and even the Christmas stuff about open
Yeah.
up happiness, and it's about connecting that to family and moments and activities versus we're sweeter or we're lower calorie. It's focused on the emotions, and so for a brand to have success, you've got to understand what the consumers really value about what you provide, and then create dialogues and experiences with them. And so yeah, learning that for years, and I was in the restaurant part of Coca-Cola for years, and I mean I would say that to operators, like, do your servers ask people, is Pepsi okay? And if they do, you should not be okay with that. Like, that's a problem because you're ruining their meal.
Yeah.
They're already you haven't even tasted your appetizer, and you're already going like, okay, you know. Um,
So being in that part of Coke, does that mean that you oversaw the best Coca-Cola ever, which is the McDonald's fountain Coke?
so the McDonald's division is its very own division, right? They're highly siloed so that none of those secrets get out to people over at Burger King or something, right? So no, I did not. Although I worked with plenty of people that came out of the dark black rooms, of the McDonald's world. The, the secret to that, right? So the way those fountain machines work is you pump water in, you filter it, right? Then you send it in, and it gets carbonated in a carbonator, and then it goes through a cold plate, goes through a cold plate, gets carbonated, then it comes and mixes at the point of pour with the syrup, right? And that creates the drink. And what McDonald's does is they basically pre-chill the water, so it's chilled twice, right? So
Ooh.
once the water hits above like 39 degrees or 40 degrees, like the gas just escapes, and so it gets more and more, it gets flatter, and so they control it by ensuring all the way through that water is pre-chilled and compressed, and that way you get what it is, that great fresh tasting Coke is just got more carbonation than what you get virtually anywhere.
So this tangent to me actually has a point, right? Because I look at the similarities between, the stories you're telling about Coca-Cola and a lot of cannabis operators, where I think they have a unique problem that is very similar to each other in the sense that Coke's main product is so phenomenal and so popular that I feel like, I don't want to say struggle, but coming out with new products or complementary products to it it's very hard to replicate that lightning in a bottle that main Coca-Cola line had. And if you look at a lot of these cannabis companies, especially the ones that are coming out of, the legacy market in California, where maybe a company like Runts, where they had one really good strain and now they're or Sherbinski originally with gelato and sherbet, right? And you see a lot of these companies where their main hit is their best thing, but now they're required to come up with these other stories and experiences and try to recreate that. I see a lot of similarities to that Coke model and what they were doing there to what's going on in cannabis. Even let's go to the relationship, and obviously outside of Florida, where there are not vertical markets, between Coca-Cola and McDonald's. I feel like we're going to start seeing a lot of cultivators that lean, especially with people not paying their bills these days, lean very heavily on specific retailers and make sure that they get the first batch or the freshest batch, or it's packaged differently that does this or this, this retailer sells it for a little bit more so they can put it in a better sealed container. It's very interesting to see. Like, I feel like everything you were just talking about at Coke is 10, 20, 30 years from now in cannabis. We're going to start hearing those stories from the same companies, and it is very, very similar. So I love how those stories and that education translates over for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I've said this, after the first 6 months kind of in the cannabis industry, and we can build brands, we can talk about superior stores, we can talk about great delivery systems, we can build immersive and fast and well executed e-commerce systems. But there's got to be a foundational element to every product you make in cannabis, right? And to me, it comes down to quality, safety, and trust, right? And if you're missing any of those three things, or if you allow your brand to lose credibility in one of those three avenues, then you're in big trouble, right? It's just a matter of time before you fall apart. So when you think about the McDonald's Coke example, like they spend a lot of money on that equipment to make sure that their Coke tastes that much better, and they sell it for less than most other people. But the volume at which they do it, because people literally talk about the best Coke in America and they go there, is worth it, right? And to me, that trust and safety piece is huge in cannabis. When you got the gray market, you've got there's some states where you just don't know where the product's coming from, and you got other folks that have a great reputation, in their home state where they cultivate it, and they allow other people to license it with loose controls. And now that brand, in one state really means something consistent and safe and quality, and it doesn't in another state. So I think as over time, the people that are going to have longevity really are going to understand. Again, when you talk about being data driven and consumer centric starts with the very base table stakes. Like, I will never walk away from quality. I will never walk away from consistency. And it doesn't have to be something that's all I talk about on my brand. But if it's not understood and just beneath the surface and everything you talk about, you're going to lose that.
I definitely can't say that better myself from a customer journey standpoint. Jeff, I want to kind of get more into you. You have these two sizable opportunities in cannabis, two great positions in the industry. What made you want to make the jump to doing this on your own? What was the inspiration to going to starting Dovetail? Was it the fact that you saw what you're able to do with the other two companies? You want to bring it to the broader market? Was it just time where I want to do my thing? What was the inspiration behind launching it?
Well, a couple of things. I got some great partners that are, sometimes you meet people in your career journey, and you always say to yourself, boy, if I ever get the chance to actually work with these folks, I would jump at it, right? And I think I've got that now. But the second thing is, when you think about taking that leap to go start a business from scratch, and create a product, right? The question is, are you solving a problem, right? That's the biggest thing. If you want, I'm a Shark Tank addict. My kids love it, so we watch it all the time, right? And so I said, what's the problem you're solving, right? Are you creating a better mousetrap? Are you creating something that doesn't exist? And this was so clear through our own struggles to build these websites that created huge gains. But knowing that the average, and I'm not even talking about the single mom and pop retailer, but I mean, a fairly well-sized cannabis company just doesn't have the time and the money and the resources to do that. So you had these two choices. They're not. It's a terrible choice to have to make, right? Do I go fast, operational, and easy, but then lock myself out of growth, or do I spend a year and every penny I've got in my war chest to get me to a place where I can take advantage of it? And so when we realized that we could build it and we could put it into WordPress, which is the easiest thing for people to use, it means so when it's up and running, the maintenance doesn't happen. And we go and beta test it with a customer and we see a 30% increase in traffic the first week by putting the product out there. And then not only are more people coming and visiting the site, but then of all the people that visit, people like yourself who come check it out and then don't buy if they leave, we're converting more people, getting them to click. Yeah, I mean, it just fit. Like, I mean, we're really solving a problem that exists that virtually every operator is dealing with today. And I think if you look at 2024, that the next step that people have to think about for growth is they've got to up their game from an e-commerce perspective. That the iframes were a great first start, but those companies that offer the iframes also offer all those APIs that allow you to unlock it and build your own site on top of their back end. And that's essentially what this does, but it does it by clicking and dragging.
I imagine they've got to be pretty excited about this.
Well, it's a great opportunity, right? Because for them, right, sooner or later, people are going to say, I got to break out of the box of the iframe. But our solution allows them to keep them in their universe, right? So if you're a Dutchy customer, you're still a Dutchy customer. You're a Dutchy Plus customer, and you've got Dovetail, which literally, so here's branding at work. It dovetails into the Dutchy system and creates a better experience for your consumers. So that's where the name came from, right? So it's not we're not out here going and say we're going to take down Dutchy and hire James. No, we want to work with them. We want to work with their customers. We want to keep them in their sphere, except make them differentiated, make them searchable, and drive more people to their websites. And so one of the things, and we're supremely confident that we have figured that out. So if people are interested and want to talk, this is a fast, easy, affordable thing. But we guarantee that it pays for itself. So literally, if you don't like it, if it's not working, we'll just flip you right back, and you don't pay a nickel. That's our website is actually dovetailpays.com. So it's either going to pay for you or you're not going to pay anything.
That is a bold statement, my friend.
It is,
Guarantee.
right?
And I like it. I like that. You have the guarantee on the website. You have the pricing on the website. Nobody has their pricing on the website anymore. I don't understand it. It's annoying, but I'm excited. Jeff, I've taken a lot of your time. You've given us a ton of insight. How can people find you and work with you?
Yeah. So dovetailpays.com is the website. Also you can look up Dovetail Smart Blocks on LinkedIn or hit me directly on LinkedIn as well. Jeff Finnerty, I think I'm the only one on there. I'm just excited to have conversations with folks and learn about their business and demonstrate how easy and risk-free we have a solution that, like I said, virtually overnight can create 30% increases in traffic to your website, higher conversion rates, unlock your data, and differentiate your brand. These are things that, as we enter 2024, I know there's a lot of VPs of marketing and directors of marketing scratching their heads going, how am I creating growth, right? And this is, when you think about all the effort you put into local marketing, one thing I had to talk to a lot of CEOs about over the years is that, worry about this store or that store. Your biggest store by far in your entire retail network is your website. That's the biggest store. So it should get the most attention. And this is an easy way for you to drive growth right out of the gate for 2024 and be able to take advantage of it throughout the year.
I agree. All you CMOs and VPs of marketings out there, I don't think you can get in trouble with your boss if you use something that has a guarantee on it. I mean, I feel like that's pretty safe. I think it's the safest
Yes.
bet you can find. So
Yeah. Yeah. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, boss, I'll give you all your money back in 3 months.
there you go. I don't think you can't get fired for that. And if you have a boss that's going to fire you for that, well, you should find a new job anyway. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you very much for sitting down with me again. It's great to have you back.
Of course. Yeah. No, I really enjoy talking to you, Todd, and enjoy the holiday season here. And hope you're able to squeeze in as many episodes as you can before the new year. And
Absolutely.
hope to see you soon.
Well, the
Live.
only thing I'm upset with you about is the fact that you're going to force more of my money to go to Jungle Boys now. So, outside of that, everything's great. Happy holidays, my friend, and we'll talk soon. Happy holidays to everybody at home. This might actually air after the holidays, so that's going to look weird. But if not, I hope you enjoyed your holidays. If not, happy holidays, folks. It's been another episode of Elevate Your Grind. We'll see you next time. Bye.